What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. Hope you all are doing well. Um, I want to take the conversation in a different direction today and skip story time. I want to address this modern woman versus the modern man conversation. Okay, this is apparently how the red pill is going mainstream with this conversation about dating and, you know, modern women and independent women and high value men. Hey, this conversation, I think, was really brought to the forefront by Kevin Samuels. I've been following Red Pill content now for, I don't know, close to 2.5 years, something like that, but my viewership predated the rise of Kevin Samuels. Now, he had started this conversation about the high value man. I guess the concept has always been around, but Kevin Samuels just started talking about it. And then, God rest the dead, Kevin Samuels passed, which was, a bomb dropped in the manosphere, and there was just this giant void left that would ultimately be filled by people who would try to produce this or give the same message that Kevin Samuels was trying to give. Ultimately, content creators went ham. They took the conversation and just ran with it. And, a whole bunch of creators popped up because Kevin Samuels left such a huge void. I don't think we realized he was five nights a week. 5 nights a week for 3 hours, 3 hours per night. So that left a lot of people wanting more of that conversation. And Kevin Samuels, God bless his heart, had a lot of integrity. He kept the conversation on the road and didn't really allow much hedonism to get in. I think that's a good word. The hedonism, these heathens. So to bring it back, we find ourselves here today, with a bunch of creators that are trying to do right by the conversation. God bless their heart. The money comes into play. The image of being that gripping, that content creator with such gripping content, and so a lot of what's being used, a lot of the content that's being made showcases the toxic and gripping traits of people that just didn't really, those traits just weren't really that prevalent before all this content started coming out. People looked at each other different. The moment that we started trying to quantify our roles, trying to define the roles, define what is a woman, what is a modern woman, what is an independent woman, trying to define what is a man, what is a high value man, what's a real man, once we started trying to define them with words, everything became divided and everything became so rigid. You know what I mean? If you're going to be this person, you have to be, exactly, you have to have these exact traits. And if any of the other traits bleed in, you might not be this thing. Okay? And with the labels that come out, of course, juxtaposed against each other, they, one looks more appealing than the other. And so we want to go towards that route. We want to be the one that we identify the most with, but then feel bad or start to doubt ourselves if we have some of these other traits, which is the problem with this, because we all have all of these traits, you know, some more than others, you know. And this conversation, this is a little bit what it looks like right here. Things like this.
So here it is. So here's the definition of a traditional woman and also a modern woman. So a traditional woman is this. She's typically seen as someone who is more conservative, aka religious. She's family oriented and focused on domestic tasks such as cooking, cleaning, and child rearing, raising the kids. And she is not bothered, here's the catch, she is not bothered by the power dynamic shifting in the man's favor, aka men lead, women follow. That is what a traditional woman is. Now, the definition of a modern woman: she's more independent,
Like
she's career driven,
you know?
She's focused on achieving her personal goals. Having a family and children is not a priority. She's open-minded and she's willing to challenge traditional gender roles, and she's comfortable leading a relationship. So now let's just have the
definitions, you know, the definitions of women, especially, you know, especially when men do it, you know. In life, when you're out, you know, people's behavior, you can't just box them in. You know, you can't just box them into one definition of a person. It just doesn't fit, and it's just not realistic. You know, a traditional woman, the way that the definition sounds, it just sounds like somebody who's locked in and doesn't want anything, you know, anything more for themselves. To cook and to clean, the definition of in itself is demeaning, you know. Even, you know, so much so that even the people that do want to do that, it feels demeaning when somebody describes it or defines it like that, you know. And the modern woman, of course, the empowered woman sounds like Superwoman, you know. And to tell and juxtaposing these two makes women feel like traditional women, the ones that are housewives, can't also be considered superwomen, because they are. And this modern woman definition, I mean, most women want the best of both worlds. Most women want a combination of both. You know, even if some women don't want children, everyone still wants an awesome home, an awesome, clean, you know, beautiful home. How come working in the home has to be, you know, either modern or traditional? It just is. It really just is. You know, and when you define those two things, and when you juxtapose them against each other, women, in an effort to want to, you know, I guess to pedestalize their image of themselves, then the opposite one becomes less, you know. And so we start to think, God, I do want all these things. I do want to have my career, and I want to have an impact on the world, and I don't just want to be in the house all the time looking after the kids. You know, we start to shy away from one, because the media juxtaposes them. You know, it's one or the other. So I do have to go this way, and I, you know, in order to feel more of the Superwoman, I'm going to let some of these things go. And I think, well, it ultimately it ultimately leads to conversations like this.
How realistic is it to expect modern women to kind of go back to their traditional role and just get your ass back in the kitchen, girl? Like, is that even
Look at
realistic
how
at this point?
Yeah.
What do you think,
traditional
Lakari?
women
It's absolutely realistic.
are
The
talked
problem
about.
is, again, like I said,
Just the
these guys are-
concept of a traditional
this
woman.
is why
Look
it's
how
not
it's
happening.
demeaned.
It's literally that simple.
Say it louder for those in the back.
They're not going to listen to you because they don't, like you're saying, trust. They don't trust you because you're inconsistent. Most guys nowadays are inconsistent. So that inconsistency breeds mistrust. It's like, well, I don't trust you to be a man because you're not being consistent. And then because
And
you're
then
not
here
being
we go.
consistent, I'm not going to listen to you and I'm not going to follow you because you're not showing me that I should follow you. And that's
This
the
is
problem
where-
where guys are
This
losing
is
they
where
don't
we
understand
describe
their
what type of man you
influence
have to be
over women.
to
They think
get,
that, well, I don't have
you know,
anything to do with what women
what
are doing
we
nowadays,
call
right? But it's always
attractive
directly
qualities in a
correlated to the
woman.
man.
This
So
is the-
because men are
you know,
soft,
if
because
you're
men don't know
not-
how to lead, this is why it's not happening. So it
If
is
you're
realistic
not
if he's
this
a
type
man.
of man, you
But if he's
won't
not a
be
man, if
able
he's
to
just a
get these
male,
qualities.
it's unrealistic.
Terrible. So, you make a clear divide. You make a clear divide for women to choose. Okay? We make a clear divide and we push it all out into the world for the conditioning. Okay? So women consume this content. Alright? A lot. Millions of women. We consume this content and we talk about it with our friends. The concept of a modern woman or a traditional woman. Okay? And we talk about it in the context that the media has given to us, the context that the media has set for us. We have this conversation in that context with each other, you know, further solidifying this concept in our head, further solidifying the divide in our head between the modern woman and the traditional woman. We stopped talking about them like one woman can have both of those traits. Like the woman can go and dominate at her job and still come home and do all these things, you know? Maybe not dominate the job, but women can still have an impact on the world and not be locked inside of the house, but still do the things, still raise the children, still cook the meals, still clean up the house. Meanwhile, it's, you know, with the give and take of the man who does the same thing, makes an impact on the world, and then comes home and spends time with his family, which also means cooking and cleaning and participating in the home. Okay? This conversation of the modern woman and the independent woman and the traditional woman has been so destructive to women, and to separate the three of them, you know, if you do this thing, if you work in corporate America, you can't be a traditional woman, you know. If you don't want kids, you can't be a traditional woman. If you do have kids and you only work part-time, you can't be a modern woman. If you do sit in the house with your kids and cook the meals and clean the house, you can't be a modern woman. You can't be an independent woman. That's so damaging, because you can still have children with and be in a committed long-term relationship and still be independent. Okay? Not everything has to revolve around hoe activities. You know? I just think that this conversation has been so damaging to society, damaging to the dating game, damaging to women. You know, the most powerful woman will do them all, you know, and still be humble. You know, because one of the best qualities that any person should have, you know, hands down, is humility. Humility. I haven't met any people that I personally value on a high level that don't have a certain degree of humility. You know, so a woman should aspire to do all of those things, you know, to have her household in order and to make a huge impact on the world, whether it be through a career or some other way. But just because you have a career that is impactful to the world doesn't mean you can't be a great mom and a great wife. You know, and men who are trying to, you know, box women into one of these definitions, it's hugely damaging. It's massively damaging. You know, we should all aspire to be great in all areas. You know, so I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. All right, like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'll catch you on the next one.